get comments about it if I don't say something. Tomorrow, I'm going to be covering the group stage of the Euros, going over the results, and then previewing the round of 16. So that video is going to be coming out tomorrow. But today, I want to talk about the first round of the NBA draft. Just a couple days back, I did my mock draft. I mocked out the top 10. Looking at this now, I watched the first 15 or 16 picks or so live, but then I went and did other things because we traded our second pick in the first round, so really I had no reason to watch beyond that. I got some things right, some things wrong. So let's get into it, starting off the first overall pick belonging to the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, their future right now is a little bit uncertain with what they're going to do. There's questions about the future of Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. So there's a few things in flux. Now, I had Alex Sarr as the top talent in this draft, but there were some reports that he did not want to go to Atlanta. They didn't work out for them. I don't know if that's legit or not. That's just something I read. So the traction of Zachary Rizache going first overall was building and building over the last couple of weeks or so. And that is what ends up happening here at first overall. The Atlanta Hawks draft Zachary Rizache from JL Borg. He's a French player. He plays on the wing. 6 foot 8.5 inches tall. Call it 6'9", weighs 195. 19 years old. 6 foot 10-inch wingspan. He's a 3-and-D player, catch and shoot. His defense is probably his most interesting quality at this spot. Having a guy who can play the 3, maybe a small ball 4, maybe some minutes at the 2, I don't really know, but a wing player who can shoot and defend. He's going to be a quality starter in the NBA. I think I'm a little bit lower on this guy maybe than some other draft boards are. I don't know if this guy's ever going to be like an all-star caliber player, but I do feel like he will have a good career as a starter. I think he will be a good NBA player. Now your second overall pick is the guy that, like I said, in my opinion, I think is the best top talent in this draft. And going to the Washington Wizards at number 2 is Alexander Sarr. Also a Frenchman. He played for the Perth Wildcats here in the NBL in Australia. Now there are some questions about Alex Sarr. He said he doesn't want to play the 5. He said he did not want to play center in the NBA, which, he's a 7-footer with a 7'4" wingspan, so he'll be a big 4. But the question is, does he have the offensive upside to play at the 4? Because as a 5, he's a good pick and roll defender. He's extremely mobile. He can get out to the perimeter. He can handle the ball. He can pass. He can shoot. But I just don't know about him playing at the 4. But apparently he was determined to go to Washington, which, if you're a Wizards fan, you haven't heard that in who knows how long. So if you're a Washington Wizards fan, that has to be exciting that this is a player who is a top talent and he wanted to be in Washington. And then at 3rd overall, you have a pick belonging to the Houston Rockets, and they take Reed Shepherd, who I expected to go here. I don't feel like he's top 3 talent, but for Houston, they get a guard who is an absolute sniper from 3, who plays bigger than his size on defense, is a good playmaker, and he's a versatile shooter too. He can catch and shoot, he can pull up, he can go off the dribble, off of transition. Now, I do have concerns about his size. He's only 6'2", and he actually measured in at 6 foot 1.8. It's a little bit shorter than that. He's 20 years old, 6'3" wingspan, 182 pounds. And so I do have concerns about his size at the next level. But the thing is, too, it might not be so bad, but this is a Houston team that already has Fred VanVleet on a max contract for the next 2 years. And Fred VanVleet's an undersized guard. So, are you going to run out 2 guard sets with 2 guys under 6'3"? I just don't know, but obviously they have other guys as well, like Green. So maybe Reed Shepherd develops a bit. I don't hate the pick. I think that he offensively, he's like a JJ Redick at his worst. Like, the worst this guy can be is like JJ Redick, is just to stand in the corner, hit threes, come off the bench, get 15, 18 points, like a better Tyler Hero. But I just have concerns about his ability to be a starter given his size, but we'll see. I would be happy to be proven wrong. At 4th overall, now this is an interesting pick to me, not because of the pick, his talent. I had him a little bit lower than this, but this pick, order-wise, makes sense to me. But it's because of some of his pre-draft comments. And at 4th overall, the San Antonio Spurs select Stephon Castle from UConn. He is 6 foot 5.5 inches, so that's great. You guys know I've said it before. One of the things I personally value the most in the NBA right now, in 2024, is a big point guard. If you're a point guard that is 6'5" or above, I think that is perhaps the most valuable thing in the NBA right now. And so the Spurs get that, and he has a big wingspan at 6'9". He's gonna be like 20 when the season starts, weighs 210. But the only problem I really have with this is he made some pre-draft comments, Stephon Castle, and he said that he did not want to go to a team with a starting point guard. He thought he wanted to be a starting point guard from day one in the NBA. And that comment in and of itself is not a problem, but I really felt like San Antonio was the perfect landing spot for Trae Young. Because there's been a lot of rumors that Atlanta wants to trade Trae Young. I thought pairing up Trae Young with Victor Wembanyama would be one of the most exciting duos in the NBA. And it kind of felt like a no-brainer for me. And not only that, but I felt like Chris Paul as well, which makes sense on a lower veteran contract. But I, in my opinion, the best thing that San Antonio could do this offseason is trade for Trae Young and then sign Chris Paul. Have Chris Paul come off the bench. Those two guys and their playmaking ability with Victor Wembanyama and the rest of that roster, I thought would make the Spurs a very interesting team. But Stephon Castle says he needs to be a day one starter. So does that mean that now San Antonio doesn't look to do that? Does Trae Young go elsewhere? I don't know, but he is, Castle is a great defender. He's good at defending their guards. He's good at the pick and roll. And he needs to have the ball in his hand, which is going to be interesting because he's not great as an off-ball scoring option. So it'll be interesting. But if they can make it work, I like this pick for San Antonio. Ron Holland at 5. I had him in my top 10. He ends up going to the Detroit Pistons. 6 foot 6.5 inches tall, 6'11" wingspan, so that's really good. He'll be about 19 by the time the season starts. Weighs 197. Now this is a guy that's fallen down a bit over the course of the season. He started the season a bit higher, or started last season a bit higher, but over the course of the year, and kind of struggling in the G League a bit, he's fallen. Now Holland is interesting. I like him as a prospect, but I don't know if I like him going to Detroit, because Detroit has a bunch of guys who can't shoot, and Ron Holland also cannot shoot, at least at the moment. Ron Holland is extremely athletic, probably the best athlete in this draft. Great vertical, great acceleration, and he's good on defense. But I feel like Detroit just has way too many guys who cannot shoot on their roster. You go best player available, and maybe he was, in Detroit's opinion here. But it's going to be interesting to see, just from a roster construction standpoint, how he fits in Detroit. At number 6, now I have to admit, this is a guy I do not know much about. I did not have him in my top 10. But at number 6, in this, once we got to 5, because in my mock draft, I mocked Portland taking Klingon at 7. And he was still there at 5, and he was still there at 6. But there was a lot of reports that Memphis really wanted Klingon, and they were trying to get a trade with Charlotte to jump the Blazers to take him. That ends up not happening. At 6th overall, the Charlotte's draft Tejane Saloon from Cholet. Another French player, so that's 3 French players in the top 6 picks. He's a wing player, 6'9". He'll be 18 when the season starts, 7'1" wingspan, 203 pounds. Like I said, this guy wasn't in my top 10, but I kind of see this as Charlotte's P.J. Washington replacement. They traded P.J. Washington to Dallas, obviously, last year, and he kind of reminds me of P.J. Washington, Saloon does. He can play the 3 and the 4. He can shoot pretty decently. Yeah. I don't know, like I said, I don't know too much about him. I watched a few clips of him. He seems like he can shoot. Reminds me of P.J. Washington a little bit. Now we come to the Blazers pick. my favorite team, wearing the cream hoodie from a few seasons back, one of the Carmelo Anthony seasons. And at 7 overall, the Blazers draft Donovan Clingan. Now, when I did my mock video, I mocked this exact thing happening. This has been interesting though. Clingan is the guy I wanted the Blazers to get at 7. I've seen some mocks and reports recently that he could go as high as 1st overall. Some people were mocking him in the top 3. And although I like Clingan and I'm glad we drafted him, I don't think he's top 3 talent in this draft. He's a big American center who can't shoot the ball. There's not very many successful players like that in the NBA. He's 7'2", has a 7'7" wingspan, weighs 282 pounds. He'll be 20 when the season starts. Now we also did a trade for Deni Avdija, trading our 14th pick to Washington, plus some other things to get Avdija. That makes me like this pick even more. I'm a big Deni Avdija fan, but I'm going to do an entirely separate video later covering trades and free agent signings and all that, so I'm not going to talk about it now. But Clingan, I'm really excited for him. He can be a defensive anchor. Now the question is, Portland has a lot of centers now. They have Ayton, Clingan, Robert Williams, Duop Reith, and I think that's it. There might be one more. A lot of people are wondering if Ayton will be traded. I don't think so. I think Clingan will be coming off the bench or Ayton. I think Robert Williams will be traded. But yeah, Clingan, he's a great rim protector. He was the best rim protector in college last year. He reminds me a little bit of a Rudy Gobert type. I mean, not that good. Rudy Gobert's a multiple-time defensive player of the year, but Clingan has that sort of build. He's not huge and heavy-footed. He's a little bit more mobile, a little bit more slender for his size. So physically, he reminds me of Gobert. But the Blazers, we're a team that desperately need defense and a defensive anchor. So if this could be like our Derek Lively type pick, I'm really excited about this. I'm probably going to grab a Clingan jersey, to be honest. I'm really excited about this pick. 8th overall. This pick originally, I believe, belonged to the Spurs. But Minnesota traded for the pick. And at 8th overall, Minnesota takes Rob Dillingham. 6'1", he'll be 19 when the season starts. I think he's one of the youngest players in the draft. 6'3" wingspan, 164 pounds. Now this is interesting, because Rob Dillingham theoretically fills a role that Minnesota needed. Because if you looked at them in the playoffs last season, obviously they had their great run. They ended up falling short to the Dallas Mavericks, and a part of that was a lack of a good bench guard. So it seems like Minnesota thinks that Rob Dillingham can come in from day one. He can be the point guard for the second unit. He's a big potential upside guy, but he has really good, he's a good shooter from deep, mid-range. He's a good ball handler. He can run the pick and roll. I don't think he's a great passer, but he's not going to be a good defender given his size, and he never really showed a knack for defense in college. But he's joining the best defense in the NBA. So I think for Minnesota, they see him as they're not drafting him like, oh, this could be our starting point guard of the future. They already have a defined role for him. So for that reason, I like it. Do they have like Dante Exum on their bench? I think I don't even remember, but he should theoretically be that lightning bolt, that microwave scorer coming off the bench. Now at 9th overall, Memphis, they were unable to trade up to get Klingon. That was the report. They tried to get Charlotte's pick. They tried to get Portland's pick because they really wanted Klingon. So, not being able to get Klingon, they take Zach Edey at 9th overall. He's a bit bigger than Klingon, 7'4", 7'11" wingspan, 299 pounds. He's a bit older, 22. He'll be 22 when the season starts. Back-to-back College Player of the Year. He's big. Big boy. So, you know, what's interesting, I didn't realize this, but with Steven Adams leaving, I don't know if he's retiring or if he's just leaving, but Steven Adams is gone. I don't know if it was in my mock or just when I was talking to my friends, but I compared Zach Edey a bit to Steven Adams. He reminded me of more of an old school center like Steven Adams is in the modern NBA. He's slow, he's not good in transition, but he's a solid paint presence, 300 pounds, 7'4". He's a big presence in the paint. It's gonna be, I don't know how he projects out as an NBA player, because he feels like a throwback, kind of, right? Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, Zach Edey would be the #1 pick, potentially, just given his size and how center dominant the league is. Given the pace of the NBA, the spacing, the defensive sets, that's the concern with Edey. He's very slow, heavy-footed. But Memphis needed a center, and I think they grabbed the best available center that was left on the board here at 9. This is another guy I'm not super familiar with. I know he's been rising up boards, but at 10th overall, the Utah Jazz drafted Cody Williams. He should play the 3, I believe. He's a wing player. 6'7", 7'1" wingspan. He'll be 20 when the season starts. His brother is already in the NBA. Plays for OKC. Yeah, plays for Thunder. Jalen Williams, I believe, is his name. Cody Williams seems like a bit of a project, and if he can pan out, I think he'll be a really good player. He's good around the rim, long athlete, obviously that 7'1" wingspan, but he's really skinny. 178, 6'7". That's, if he's taking bumps at the rim, because he's primarily a rim scorer, that might not end well for him. So, he definitely needs to put on some weight, but definitely a project player. I feel like there was a few more NBA-ready guys available here at 10, especially a guy that I personally have as a top 5 in talent, who goes at the next pick at number 11, but the Jazz take Cody Williams at 10. Now this is a guy, he's fallen down the draft boards over the years. At one point he was in the top 3, top 4. I still think he's top 5, talent-wise. But 11th overall, the Chicago Bulls draft Matas Buzelis on the G League Ignite. The Bulls just had a widely banned trade that I was not a fan of either. Getting rid of Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey. But Matas Buzelis, I think talent-wise, he's really, really good. 6'9", 6'10" wingspan. He'll be 20 when the season starts. He has a good jumper. decision maker. He's a pretty good defender. Given his size, he moves really well with the ball. I think it really just depends on how his shot develops. But I think talent-wise, if this dude develops properly in a good situation, I think he has sky-high potential. I think this is a great pick for Chicago. And another guy I had in the top 5 for talent. I know he had a partial ACL tear. But at 12th overall, going to Oklahoma City Thunder, we have Nikola Topic from Crvena Zvezda, a Serbian player. 6'6", with a 6'5" wingspan, so that's a little bit of a downside having the T-Rex arms. He'll be 19 when the season starts. But Oklahoma City, they just got rid of Josh Giddey, and they basically immediately brought in his replacement. I think Topic has the potential to be any better. I'm really high on Topic's development. I think he will be a really good player. He's a big guard, 6'6". He's super. His acceleration's really good. He has a good first step. He's probably one of the best in this class at driving to the rim, and he has an amazing finishing touch around the rim. He's a below the rim player, but he can up and under, floater, whatever. He can get the ball up, and he's really good at driving and kicking. He's a really good playmaking ability out of drives, which is a rare talent for a young player. He'll drive full speed, downhill to the rim. You think he's going to go up and score it. Help comes. Last second, he's kicking it out to an open man. The problem is, cannot shoot. His shot is super flat. He has a really slow release, and he cannot really defend. But I think offensively his talent is sky high, and I think the Thunder got a really good player here at 12. At 13th overall, going to Sacramento Kings, we have Devin Carter from Providence. He's a 6'2" guard, but he's a 6'9" wingspan. He'll be 22 when the season starts, so he's closer to a finished product, but he seems like he's like a defense first guard. He can contest out at the perimeter. He gets steals, he can jump. The passing lanes reminds me kind of like Gary Payton II a little bit. So it seems like for the Kings, they get some defense. He can defend guards, maybe even out to like the 3, given his wingspan. But he's a guy that they believe should come in and contribute defensively from day one, and I think he probably should. Now at 14th overall, the Washington Wizards. This pick originally belonged to Portland, but Washington gets it in the Denny Avdija trade, and they draft Bub Carrington from Pittsburgh. He'll be 19 when the season starts. He is 6'4", with a 6'8" wingspan. He's a good pull-up shooter. He's not afraid to shoot the ball. Decent passer, but he's not really much of a driver or like a rim scorer. He's really going to be a mid-range three-point shooter. I think he'll probably play the shooting guard position. He's a decent ball handler, but not great. But to me, he just seems like a good scoring guard option. Although here at 14, I feel like Washington could have drafted a guy who went 3 picks later, and I probably would have liked that a little bit better for them, because he can almost come in and be a bit of a Denny Avdija replacement with the pick they got from us, but instead they go for a scoring guard. But I guess, they already have that in Jordan Poole. But Carrington, Jordan Poole, light, potentially. At 15, this pick was a bit of a surprise to me. The Miami Heat draft Kel'el Ware from Indiana. He's a center, 7 foot with a 7'5" wingspan. He'll be 20 when the season starts. He's gonna be basically locked in at being the backup for Bam Adebayo. But 7-footer, and he can shoot though out of the perimeter. Apparently, I don't know this. I haven't seen him, but according to scouting report, he has some issues with focus. He can sometimes not lock in, but sometimes those problems go away when players transition from college to the professionals. So we'll see. It's an interesting pick. Definitely not one I was expecting. I also thought that Miami would take the guy who ends up going 17th overall. 16th overall, going to the Philadelphia 76ers. They take Jared McCain from Duke. He's a 6'2" point guard with a 6'4" wingspan. He'll be 20 when the season starts. And I really think he's just kind of a catch and shoot guy. He's a really good 3-point shot, but he can't really make his own shot. When you have guys like Embiid and Maxey on the team, there's a guy that can kind of stand on the perimeter and help beat that pressure release valve for Philadelphia. I kind of see him as maybe a Buddy Hield type or something like that for the Sixers. He can play the 2 or maybe the 3 if they go small ball, but I question that. Now at 17, this might end up being the steal of the draft. I think this guy would have been perfect for Washington. I think he would have been perfect for Miami. He might have even been good for Philadelphia, but if Philadelphia ends up getting Paul George, then, disregard that. But at 17th overall, the Los Angeles Lakers take Dalton Knecht from Tennessee. I had this guy top 10 talent-wise. I think he's the second or third best shooter in this draft. 6'5" with a 6'9" wingspan. He's 23. So he is a bit older. He's a finished product. But he's extremely athletic. He's an off-ball scorer, maybe the best off-ball scorer in this draft. And he can dunk, he can get above the rim. He has a good vertical. But if you're the Lakers team, and you're a piece away, LeBron, AD, you have D'Lo, this guy could maybe even start on this team. I think he is the perfect fit for a Lakers team that's an older team that is looking to compete. Bring back LeBron. Knecht is the perfect type of player to pair with LeBron James. Big, can shoot. That's the archetype, right? You get LeBron, surround him with shooters, you can win a championship. And I am surprised that he fell here to 17. I'm shocked Washington didn't take him. I'm even more shocked that Miami did not take him when he fell to them. And I think that he is going to elevate this Lakers team considerably. I'm going to start going a little bit quicker now because I have less knowledge on these prospects. I'm not a college guy. I kind of just pay attention to the top, the lottery picks really. But 18th overall, the Orlando Magic select another older player, also 23 years old from Colorado, Tristan da Silva. 6'8" with a 6'10" wingspan. He's a 3-point shooter, catch and shoot guy. Decent defender, should be able to guard the 3 and the 4. And he is a decent passer. He could probably contribute right away. And this is an Orlando team that feels like they want to take the next step. This Orlando team probably feels like they're good enough to compete adding a guy who's pretty much plug and play, should theoretically contribute day one. That's the smart move for them, similar to the Lakers. At 19th overall, going to the Toronto Raptors, we have Jacoby Walter from Baylor. 6'4". He'll be 20 when the season starts. 6'10" wingspan. My opinion, this is like the Gary Trent Jr. replacement. Gary Trent Jr. supposedly is not coming back to Toronto. And I see this guy is basically the same. He's a 3-and-D player. He can play the 2. He can play the 3. He has a good wingspan. I feel like he should be a rotation piece, probably coming off the bench for most of the season, but I feel like this is a guy who can theoretically can give you some, 12, 15 minutes a night of solid basketball. At 20th overall, it's not Jason Tatum, it's Jalen Tyson from California, going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. 6'6", with a 6'8" wingspan. He'll be 21 when the season starts. This guy, he seems like just sort of an all-arounder wing player. He can create his own shot. He can shoot a little bit. He can get to the rim a little bit. Doesn't seem like a super athlete, but just sort of seems like a versatile player all around, which is like a good addition for Cleveland. At 21 overall, the New Orleans Pelicans select Yves Mizzy from Baylor. 6'11" with a 7'2" wingspan. He is 19 years old. And New Orleans gets a center, which feels like a position of need for New Orleans. They've been running Jonas Valanciunas for a little while now, and he's getting up there in age. Mizzy can protect the rim. He's fast, versatile. Just seems like a good defensive center. Could probably get pretty good minutes coming off the bench. At 22 overall, the Denver Nuggets also take a center. This one is Daron Holmes II from Dayton. He's 6'9", weighs 236 pounds, with a 7-foot wingspan, and he'll be 22 when the season starts. Pick and roll, thread, pick and pop, thread, shot blocker. A little bit short, but if you're running small ball against the Nuggets, this guy is super explosive, and I think he can give a team problems that's running a smaller center, especially with his wingspan. Now we get another player getting drafted out of the Australian League, and that is A.J. Johnson, who played for the Illawarra Hawks. 6'4", the 6'9" wingspan. He is 19. Apparently he did not play very much in Australia, but he's an extremely fast player, extremely athletic, good ball handler, good passer. He's going to Milwaukee. I'm sorry for all the cuts. My throat is just really, my voice feels worn out, if that makes sense. 24th overall, we have another pick going to the Washington Wizards, their 3rd pick in this first round. And they take a forward from Miami, Keyshawn George. He's 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan. Really good shooter, shot 41% from 3 at Miami. 6'7" guy who can catch and shoot is that's a valuable player in the modern NBA. 25th overall, we have the New York Knicks, who just made the trade of the offseason. Again, I'll talk about it in another video. But the Knicks drafted Bakomi Dadie, who played for Ratio Farm Ulm in Germany, a French player. Again, tons of French players. We're seeing the French Revolution happen here in the NBA at the moment. He's a wing player, 6'8". He'll be 19 when the season starts. I think he is the youngest player in the draft, 6'9" wingspan. I think he's projected to play the 4, and given the trades New York made, I don't expect him to really see the floor. They're full on competing this season. But yeah. At 26th overall, we have another Oklahoma City Thunder draft pick. This time it is Dylan Jones from Weber State. He'll be 23 when the season starts. 6'5" with a 6'11" wingspan. I kind of expect him to probably play at the 3 position. He is a good playmaker, offensive initiator. He's really strong, 237 at 6'4". He can drive into the paint pretty much at will. He can grab boards. Though, for the Thunder, who do have some rebounding issues from time to time, he could be a valuable role player for them. At 27th overall, the Minnesota Timberwolves take Terrence Shannon Jr. from Illinois, 6'6" with a 6'9" wingspan. He'll be 24 when the season starts, one of the oldest players in the draft. So again, Minnesota looking for players who potentially can contribute right away. He's extremely athletic, explosive, but again, I don't really think he's going to see much playing time in Minnesota, just given his draft position here and the fact that they're looking to compete. At 28th overall, the Phoenix Suns take Ryan Dunn from Virginia. He is 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan, which is a huge difference. He'll be 21 when the season starts, but he is a really good defensive player. That's basically all that he is. A really good jumper, really athletic. And by jumper, I mean he is a really good vertical, not that he's a good jump shot. He does not. He really doesn't have anything going for him offensively. But for this Phoenix Suns team, who desperately need defense, this guy Ryan Dunn could come off the bench, or maybe even in certain situations get big minutes and just go out there to be a defensive anchor while Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, they go do their thing scoring. At 29th overall, this is a guy who fell a little bit. I saw some people putting this dude in the top 10. I saw a lot of people putting him in the top 20, but he falls to 29 here to the Utah Jazz, and that's Isaiah Collier from USC. 6'3", he'll be 20 years old when the season starts. 6'5" wingspan, and there's a guy, he has high upside. At one point, apparently he was running for the number 1 pick. I don't remember that. I remember him being top 10, but he struggles with turnovers. He's not a great shooter, but he can get to the paint. He's a crafty scorer at the rim. Very fast, strong for his size, good passer. So they're kind of just hoping that he can develop and shore up those weaknesses in his game. And finally, our last pick, 30th overall, the Boston Celtics take Baylor Shearman from Creighton, 24 years old, 6'6" with a 6'8" wingspan, and he's a good 3-point shooter. That's basically it. He can catch and shoot. He can shoot off the dribble. He can pull up. He can step back, and he's not afraid to shoot. Pretty much, but that's all he really does. But if you're Boston, you're a team that just won the championship, you think you can go back to back, and your core pieces are locked up long term. A guy like this, he's pretty much a finished product. Maybe be some nights he can come off the bench. He's not going to play too many minutes, but go out there, get you 9, 12, 15 points. He'll just be out there to put up threes and not do much else, but that's not necessarily a bad thing to have. But anyways, guys, that is my recap of the first round of the NBA draft. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments down below of what you think of your team's draft selection. Personally, I'm really happy with what the Blazers did today, drafting Klingon, getting Denny Avdia. I'm really excited for next season. But like I said, let me know what picks you think were reaches, what picks you think were steals, all of that. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single day.